You can have everything in your hands, but without happiness, you'll still feel incomplete. So how can you truly find happiness? Why did a powerful emperor like Marcus Aurelius refuse all the temptations of life? Could he teach us how to live happily? Happiness doesn't come from what you own, but from how you live. And Marcus Aurelius proved this with his Stoic philosophy. Welcome to Wisdom Daily. In this video, we will explore how Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest emperors in history, applied Stoicism to find the true path to happiness. You'll be surprised to learn that despite his limitless power, he chose to reject worldly temptations and live a life of purpose. Let's dive into 5 lessons why Stoicism is the key to living a happier life in this ever-changing world. Let's get started. Introduction to Stoicism and Marcus Aurelius. How do extraordinary individuals remain grounded amidst endless temptations and immense power? Marcus Aurelius, a remarkable Roman emperor and influential Stoic philosopher, offers us profound insights. Founded over 2,000 years ago, Stoicism teaches living in harmony with nature, calmly facing life's challenges, and staying true to moral values. Marcus Aurelius, despite his unmatched power and wealth, chose humility, virtue, and self-discipline, clearly reflected in his deeply personal work, Meditations. So how exactly did Marcus Aurelius use Stoicism to achieve lasting happiness? Let's explore 5 transformative Stoic lessons from his life that remain incredibly relevant today. Lesson 1. Marcus Aurelius and his life as an emperor. When we think of Marcus Aurelius, many people immediately picture a Roman emperor with limitless power and a life of luxury. However, what is truly fascinating is that, despite having access to everything one could dream of, Marcus chose a completely different path from the other emperors of his time. While others pursued power, wealth, and indulgence, Marcus Aurelius sought virtue and self-discipline. As emperor for 19 years, he had the ability to satisfy any material desire. In his time, Roman emperors were often expected to indulge in pleasures like money, sex, wine, and every other form of excess. For them, such indulgence was practically a given. But Marcus Aurelius was different. He chose to live with high moral standards and a strong Stoic mindset, unaffected by the temptations that surrounded him. This is the remarkable aspect of Marcus Aurelius's life. In a world where everything was available to him, he rejected it and lived according to the values that Stoicism teaches. He didn't seek temporary gratification from material possessions. Instead, he sought inner peace, virtue, and self-improvement. Every day, he reminded himself of his duty to be a good person, not for fame or praise, but simply because it was his moral responsibility. In a way, Marcus Aurelius's life is a living example of Stoicism. Even though he had limitless power, he chose a path filled with challenges and self-restraint, the path of self-control, humility, and setting an example for those around him. These choices made him not just a great leader, but also a Stoic role model throughout history. This makes us reflect. Could we live like him? Could we, in a world full of material temptations, choose to stay grounded and uphold our moral values, just as Marcus Aurelius did? Lesson 2. Meditations and the philosophy of Marcus Aurelius. One of the greatest works left behind by Marcus Aurelius is his book, Meditations. However, what is truly remarkable is that this book was never intended to be a philosophical guide for others. It was actually a personal journal written by Marcus himself. He penned his thoughts as a way to reflect on and remind himself of the Stoic principles, as well as how to live a life of responsibility and self-discipline. What makes Meditations even more special is that it was not written with any intent to be published or shared. The writings were simply his deepest confessions and reflections, intended only for his own eyes. Despite this seemingly informal nature, Meditations has become one of the most influential and profound books in the history of philosophy. The book does not follow a structured format, but instead consists of various reflections on life, ethics, and the challenges Marcus faced as an emperor. Though it was never meant for others to read, it reveals a lot about his character and inner thoughts. Meditations is deeply personal and yet incredibly insightful, providing timeless wisdom on how to approach life, struggle, and self-improvement. Given its personal nature, Meditations is a powerful example of Marcus's commitment to Stoicism. It offers a glimpse into his mind and shows how he used philosophy to navigate the immense challenges of ruling an empire. Although written for himself, the book has become a source of guidance for countless people seeking peace of mind, moral clarity, and strength in adversity. So, while the best way to truly understand Marcus's philosophy is to read Meditations for yourself, let's take a closer look at some of the key ideas that stand out. These insights can help us better navigate our own lives, offering practical lessons from a philosopher who ruled the most powerful empire in the world while remaining grounded in his Stoic principles. Lesson 3. Dealing with Evil and Adversity 1. Of the most important lessons Marcus Aurelius offers is how to deal with evil and adversity. In life, we inevitably face challenges, whether it's dealing with difficult people, unfair situations, or personal hardships. But rather than succumbing to these challenges, Marcus teaches us to face them with patience and resilience. Stoicism teaches that every challenge in life can become an opportunity for self-improvement and strengthening our character. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "The difficulties you face are not punishments, but lessons in life. Don't let them defeat you, let them help you grow." This perspective is important because it encourages us to see challenges not as burdens or misfortunes, but as opportunities for growth. However, resilience doesn't mean ignoring pain or pretending that difficulties don't affect us. Marcus was fully aware of life's challenges and suffering, but he advocated for not allowing negative emotions to control us. Instead, he encouraged us to maintain our inner strength and stay focused on what we can control, which is our response to external circumstances. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When we face hardship, instead of feeling disappointed or giving up, we should meet it with calmness and focus on what we can control. Marcus also often reminded himself that the difficult people and situations he faced as an emperor were part of life's natural order. Just as a vine grows with thorns, we will inevitably encounter people who are difficult, immoral, or lazy. But instead of getting upset, Marcus teaches us to accept these people as part of the world. He wrote, "We cannot control whether we encounter bad people, but we can control how we respond to them." For example, imagine losing your job unexpectedly due to downsizing. Many Americans face this exact situation during economic downturns. While one person may see this as a devastating setback, another, guided by Stoicism, could approach it differently. Rather than falling into despair, this person chooses to see it as a chance to reevaluate life goals, improve professional skills, and perhaps start a business or pursue a passion they had previously neglected. By maintaining calmness and focusing on opportunities rather than setbacks, this individual transforms a difficult circumstance into personal growth and eventual success. In modern life, this lesson is especially relevant. We're often caught in conflicts and frustrations, but instead of letting them defeat us, Marcus Aurelius reminds us that we have the ability to stay calm, do what's right, and keep our values intact. Stoicism teaches us that challenges are not obstacles. They are opportunities to grow stronger and more resilient. So, how can we apply this lesson in our own lives? When we face difficulties, whether in our personal lives or at work, instead of reacting negatively, we can choose to stay calm, act with integrity, and maintain our focus on what we can control. This is how Stoicism can help us face adversity with grace, turning challenges into stepping stones for personal growth. Lesson 4. On Death and the Purpose of Life. One of the most striking aspects of Marcus Aurelius' philosophy is his view on death. In fact, Marcus was not afraid of death at all. He saw death as a natural part of the life cycle, not something to fear or avoid. In meditations, he frequently reminded himself of the impermanence of life, understanding that death was inevitable. He wrote, "Death is part of the universe's plan, something nature has ordained for us. Why should we fear it?" Marcus believed that fearing death only leads to unnecessary anxiety, preventing us from living fully. Death is not an end, but rather a transition in the natural order. All living beings, from plants to humans, must experience death, and this is something beyond our control. Therefore, instead of fearing it, we should accept it as part of the process of life. This view is quite different from the common perspective in modern society, where we often avoid thinking about death and focus on prolonging life as much as possible. But according to Marcus, such an approach is a waste of time. He advised us to live fully, to strive for self-improvement, and to contribute to society before death arrives. Consider the inspiring story of Randy Pausch, an American professor from Carnegie Mellon University who delivered a powerful lecture known as the Last Lecture after being diagnosed with terminal cancer. Despite knowing his days were limited, Randy chose to embrace life fully and positively. Rather than succumbing to fear and anxiety about his impending death, he shared meaningful life lessons, encouraged others to pursue their dreams, and lived his final days with purpose, joy, and gratitude. Randy's courageous example beautifully illustrates Marcus Aurelius's Stoic wisdom on accepting death as a natural and inevitable part of life, prompting us all to live fully and meaningfully. To live a meaningful life, Marcus Aurelius urged us to focus on what we can control: our actions, our values, and our self-improvement. When we understand that death is inevitable, we can live more fully, without fear and worry about things we cannot control. Every day becomes more valuable, and every action becomes more significant in our journey to become the best version of ourselves. These thoughts don't just help us face death calmly, they also help us find our purpose in life. The purpose of life is not to avoid death, but to live in such a way that when death comes, we can say we've lived fully. Marcus reminds us to live with integrity, fulfill our role in nature, and accept that death is a part of that role. When we embrace this, we can live more meaningfully, focused on what truly matters. Lesson 5. Stoic thoughts on happiness and fulfillment. Throughout his life, Marcus Aurelius consistently emphasized one key idea: true happiness does not come from external things. What we often call happiness in modern society, money, fame, power, or relationships, is merely temporary and cannot provide lasting fulfillment. For Marcus and the Stoics, true happiness is an inner state that arises from self-improvement and living in accordance with our moral values. Marcus Aurelius believed that life is not a race to gather everything the world has to offer. Instead, it is a process of growth and becoming the best version of ourselves each day. He wrote, "Happiness is not something you find outside of yourself, but the result of right thinking and right action within." This is a powerful and profound insight, as it shifts our focus away from external rewards and towards the internal process of becoming better individuals. According to Stoicism, happiness is the outcome of living by reason and virtue, not accumulating material wealth. Marcus urged us to focus on what we can control rather than things that are out of our hands. In fact, so many of the worries we have in life are about things we cannot change. For example, we cannot control the actions of others, but we can control how we respond to them. It is our reaction to life that determines our happiness. Consider the story of Jim Carrey, a famous American actor and comedian who once said, "I wish everyone could get rich and famous and have everything they ever dreamed of, so they can see that it's not the answer." Despite reaching incredible fame and wealth, Jim found that external success did not automatically lead to true happiness or lasting fulfillment. Instead, he discovered that genuine happiness comes from within, through meaningful work, inner peace, and living authentically according to his values. Jim's story vividly illustrates Marcus Aurelius' teaching that lasting happiness is rooted in our inner state and not external achievements or possessions. This means that happiness is not about how much we own or how successful we are in the eyes of society. Rather, it comes from inner contentment when we live a meaningful life, staying true to our values and doing what is right every day. Stoicism teaches us that, even in difficult times, we can find peace and happiness by living a life of integrity and kindness, focusing on becoming a better person rather than chasing fleeting pleasures. So how do we achieve happiness according to Stoic philosophy? It's simple. Control your mind, do good, and live with integrity. Don't let external circumstances dictate your happiness. Instead, focus on the things you can change: how you respond, how you act, and how you live every day. When we do this, we find true happiness, one that comes from within and is not dependent on temporary external circumstances. So, in today's video, we've explored the valuable lessons from Marcus Aurelius and the philosophy of Stoicism. From living in harmony with nature, to facing death with acceptance, dealing with adversity, and seeking true happiness, each of these principles leads us to one important message. True happiness comes from self-improvement and living according to our values. Marcus Aurelius lived a remarkable life not because he had everything he wanted, but because he chose to live with virtue and resilience, even when he had the power to indulge in anything he desired. His Stoic philosophy is not just advice for people in the past, but a treasure trove of wisdom that we can apply in today's world to help us face challenges with calmness and integrity. Remember, happiness doesn't come from what you can acquire, but from fulfilling your potential, being true to yourself, and living with integrity. Each day is an opportunity to become a better version of yourself and live a life of meaning. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Wisdom Daily so you won't miss out on more valuable lessons. And if you have any thoughts about Stoic philosophy or what Marcus Aurelius taught us, feel free to leave a comment below. Share this video with those you think could benefit from these Stoic lessons so we can all learn and grow together. Join us on this journey with Wisdom Daily as we explore timeless philosophies that can help us live a better, more meaningful life. We're always here to share valuable insights from great thinkers throughout history. For a better life, start today.